Hi everyone, I am Sohna Mamjara Busage. I'm a student and I study down Limamulai High School in Laos 6th form. Welcome in your first program of English Talk where we talk to the talker so as to make the right talk. Today I have the great honor to receive as a guest a honorable man like Mr. Camara, as you see behind my image, with my co-workers Zahra and Abdulhadir. Let's go title him.
Télé Ecole.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I have said a while back, I'm not going to tackle the program alone. I'm with my co-workers Abdulhadir and Zahra to do it with our honorable guest, Mr. Camara. Mr. Camara, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Thank you. And Zahra, how things are going on?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Abdulhadir?
It's going to be ship shape.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Camara is no longer a personality to present to people. So, actually speaking, who is Mr. Camara?
Well, my name is Mohammed Camara.
Yes.
Papa Mohammed Camara, and I'm an economist by trade, meaning that's what I studied fundamentally, and with different works, different jobs I took, I became a GSM engineer by trade, meaning with the help of an American company. I became a company engineer, handling different projects in telecommunication, particularly GSM, because GSM is was a new thing, and there was no school and all that to teach this, so therefore they had to pick on different people who had certain skills to turn them into engineers to be able, and as such I progressed, went forward, and handled the different jobs here, including something I like, which is interpretation, meaning that I was a translator for different personalities because I wanted to fill the gap, to face the challenge that some of the American companies could not feel, saying that they would not understand French, so therefore any French jobs or any French contract given to them would not be achieved. So I promised my friend, who is the president of an American company, who hired me for stayed with them for 15 years. So I was able to translate study. All right.
And that was a good job.
Well,
That's thanks to you that
interesting.
I like interpreters like you.
Oh yeah, thank you.
So talking about our topic of the day, which is English in the world. For you as a traveler around the countries, what should be or where should be the place of English in the world? By word, I mean the word of education, the word of economy, the word of business or science. Where exactly?
Well, that's a very, very interesting question. The reason why it is a very interesting question is that English is really a spearhead of progress in the world today. English is the language used for several contexts. It is used in science, it is used in computer engineering, it is used in the international forums, it is used for education, for transversal education, for global education, for trade, and for globalization. We heard about globalization. We've been hearing about globalization all the time, meaning third world countries coming into the game, the big game of trade and commerce, of exchanges. So therefore, you may run into a meeting where you meet somebody who doesn't speak your native language.
Of course.
And our working language in Senegal here being French, you run into a lot of people who speak not French only, but who speak other languages, and English is one of them.
Of course. So for you, according to your ideas, the place of English should be everywhere.
Well, actually, English has been used everywhere for people to understand each other.
Of course.
When you come to an area where everybody speaks like some other language, he is Indian, I guess, he is Chinese, he is Spanish, but the only language word that would converge would be English. You could speak English and be understood by everyone there.
Of course. Thank you. So maybe my coworkers Abdulkader has some questions to ask to our guest, Mr. Camara. Abdulkader, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much indeed for giving me this sacred opportunity. First, I would like to welcome our honorable guest to this platform, which we call English Talk program. My question is, nowadays youth need support, they need orientations. Driving from your experience, from your wisdom in life, what are the keys of success according to you?
Well, thank you very much, Abdul Khader. Success, what is success? Success is a beautiful achievement of something you have started to undertake. For example, you are studying in school, you'll be successful when you got all the degrees that you were aiming for, with good grade and with what you call it, with some type of honor grades. In order to achieve that, you have to study hard, right?
Sure.
Let's take another area of work. You want to do business. You have a business that you open, you want to be successful in your business. You will not sit, you will not cross your arms and sit in your business. You would work hard, you would work day and night to see what is good in what you're doing and what is bad in what you're doing. What is good in what you're doing, you may prosper in that, you may continue in that direction. And what is bad in what you're doing, in other words, if you have bad experience in realizing something, your eye doesn't work, you do not have to persist in your errors. You use your errors to become better, to improve yourself. So, what I can say is working hard. Do not be lazy. Work hard at all time. You'll be successful. And tell the truth, because by lying, you may lie to your own self. And when you lie to your own self, that's a very wrong thing to do. You will continue on that lie and you will be totally misleaded. So you need to be your own leader. You need to take your hands in life. You understand? You need to have your life in hands, I should say. And that way you will improve your performance and you will be good in what you're doing. That is what success is for.
And there is a quotation which say, words may lie, but action will always tell the truth.
Words may lie, but actions will always tell the truth. That's right. That's right.
Then to put it in a nutshell, the main key to success is to work hard and to be honest.
Of course.
Honesty is the key thing. All right? You can be honest, but honesty alone should be accompanied with hard work. You could be honest and all that, right? But if you're not working hard, you're not going to go anywhere. All right? So, but in order to, let's say, take what you're doing in work to the right place, you need to be truthful to yourself. You need to be truthful to others. Sometimes, some people lie to achieve certain things, but at the long run, it will fail them. Understand? So being honest is good, of course, but it's not the only thing. You need to work and work hard.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think the answer is clear. Now I'm going to give the floor to my co-worker Fatima Zahra. If you have some questions to ask to Mr. Camara, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Camara, what I would like to know is how is it that you could manage to interpret for high authorities while you were rather an economist?
Well, that's a very important question, very good question, because, you know, sometimes you have matters that require some specification, right? For example, And because I have right now in front of me here, I have over there E is equal to MC square. If you don't know how to say MC square, you are just someone who is not familiar with those sciences, for example.
Yeah.
You may translate as saying E is equal to MC2.
Yeah.
And when you say MC2, it's different from MC square, right? Of course, a lot of people say MC2, and people who know already what they are talking about know already that it is MC square, all right? And this thing goes for several areas. There are some areas where you need to be specialized. For example, in economics, you have some functions that are mathematical functions where it is very easy to confuse, let's say, a factor, right, with a variable. For example, you have a constant. For example, if you say MP instead of M index P, those are two different things.
Yeah.
When you say MP, it means that M times P. The whole thing becomes one constant, right? Becomes a one with a variable, I'm sorry, all right? Well, if it is M sub P, it means that it's a constant. So it is in facing this type of situations that I stepped in on request of some of the authorities for whom I used to translate directly because of the convenience and because of the, let's say, the use that we had to work together in certain areas, right? The same thing goes also for a friend of mine who asked me, he had a conference, Bob, because that's my little nickname, right? Could you help me because I'm having some doctors here, they're going to be talking about cancer here. I understand that in your past you work as a temporary worker at the American Cancer Institute. You think you can help me in preparing my, you know, what you call it, a panoramic presentation, which is a, let's say, a PowerPoint presentation? So I said, yeah. I did some research, and I came. He was talking about different types of cancer. And we reached one cancer which was very difficult to translate for others, right? It was, what you call it, some colon, the cancer of the colon, right? Mm-hmm. We also had cervical cancer.
Of course.
Right? Which is in French, I think, cancer du col de l'utérus. For women, and if you do not know that, this is cervical cancer, you may say, oh, the cancer du cerveau, which you're out completely. So these are little things that make you specialize, and I love precision, you know.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, so it was mainly to fill the gap between the people that spoke different languages that you started interpreting.
Well, actually, if I tell you the story, it's a very long story, but I may chip in. I tell you what, when I was in fourth year of economics, the dean of our faculty, let's say, that's the way they say it in French faculty, but in reality it's our department of economics, said that we are going to bring you a teacher, a math teacher in mathematical economics. And that math teacher was from MIT, and is a doctor from a PhD from MIT, and did not speak French at all, pretty much at all. So he started running into some difficulty in class, and my friends with whom I used to play a lot, we've just pretending that, hey, look, I know James Brown, I know this one, and speaking American English. They told me, Pop, why don't you translate for us this class? So I started translating. I knew how you could tell a function, y is equal a times b, whatever is equal to, etc. So I started translating for a whole entire year. You know, I was translating this teacher's course. It was like, for me, I think it was a gift from God to have given me the opportunity to have a training, to have what they call in French a stage, you know, a training in translation and interpretation. That's how I continued. So I was very much familiar with English and translating from English into French, etc. So as a matter of fact, it is that same teacher who recommended me for Columbia Business School, Columbia University Business School. And I got accepted there, and I thank him for that. And I think that is because they say they scratch my back and I scratch your back.
Yeah, I think that is pretty wonderful. So I'm giving the floor to Jara.
Okay, thank you, Miss Zahra. So, Mr. Camara, we notice people, more precisely students, despite troublesome conditions of life, zero in on their originality so as to have much of their life. I mean, to have their own way of success. What belief do you give to youth and entrepreneurship?
Well, actually, it's a very difficult question in the sense that it involves opinion over what line of thought some youth should take. First of all, I believe that working for the nation, putting the nation's interests forward is a key element. For example, a child or a young man may choose to do what they call civic work, meaning follow some of the principles laid by the country's principles. And in Senegal or in Africa in general, what we should do here is to return to our own values, because our values have some principles that are inherent in them at the family level, at the community level. I would say, talking about community level, talking about the village level, because we all do come from a village. And we have certain values that we do not transgress. We don't go over those values. We try to stick by those values. For example, it is not because a young person from Africa would go to some of the countries to expatriate themselves to those countries. They're going to go into all the values and adhere to all the declining values of those areas. For example, I know people who, once they're home here, they never have drinking any alcohol, they have never smoked any joint, that's the current name for it, or not to say marijuana or any drugs and all that, but would travel and pour into that to the point that they forget about all their origins, they forget about themselves, and they get lost into a new foreign culture that is not theirs, you see?
Exactly.
So that's the reason why I think that following instructions of the parents, the teaching of the elders here is very important for the successful achievement of any endeavor.
So a while ago I have heard you talking about we should work for our nation. So don't you think that's for doing so that we are going to search for another way of success instead of waiting for the government or searching works to, given that that's a problem to find work everywhere?
Well, yeah, you're right. Entrepreneurship for an individual is the main thing. When I say work for your nation, I don't mean necessarily to come and work for the government, you know, all right? Because the government alone is not the nation. The nation is composed of the leaders of the nation and the people who compose the nation.
Of course.
Understand, right? So when you decide to engage into something, it is to improve the life of those people. You see, if you have a particular skill that maybe the government may need in order for you to fulfill that endeavor, then you join them and you work with them, I believe that they would come to you once they find out that you have this particular skill and all that, right? But in your own, what you would do is to create something. For example, you are here in Senegal. You see that they have all over plastic bags all over the place and all that. One day you sit down and you think, you say, wow, look, one plastic bag is sold this amount of money. I think that if I start creating a small enterprise or small business which will collect all these bags that I see in the street at different places. I live in a district, I'm talking about in an area, where you have a lot of young people who do not have a job. You approach them and try to gather them into an organization. As a matter of fact, here they have this type of organization called economic grouping, groupement économique. That you create that type of grouping, you collect all those bags, you use your knowledge, but you went to school, and to try to contact people abroad who can finance a project that you may have, and then here you are, taking off already. They mentioned, they would say Mam Jara or Abdurrahim or Zahara. They have a company, and this company has done very good because in the area of Mboro, in the area of Mbur, they have collected millions of waste bags, and they have a contract with some company in Yugoslavia or whatever company in Bosnia or whatever, or Russia, to make some goods. They will come back to Senegal for them. So you see, this type of actions, creativity, initiative, right? Let's say nowadays we're into digitalization, right? We're into, let's say, building things, you know. So all these are elements that could be used. You know.
It is due to this creativity that we see sometimes in some association of entrepreneurship where we see someone very rich, they become rich in this kind of creativity. So for the last question, may we talk to Mr. Camara without talking about his mother? I think your mother was a personality, so how deep was your love for your mother?
Oh yeah, so that's very interesting. It's a very interesting question. Peace be to her soul right now, because she passed away last year. And my mother was a teacher, basically. She studied at the École Normale des Jeunes Filles de Rufisque, and she put me on a straight line in terms of education, personal education, all right? And afterwards, she taught me love for women in general, because she's the one who taught me that, you see, this world is really led by women. They're the one who are under the sun.
Of course.
They're the one who cook for you.
Of course.
They're the one who go fetch water for you.
Of course.
They're the one who go in the forest to find wood for
We
you.
do everything.
When you're sick, they're the one who care for you. They're the one who stayed like 9 months without practical activities in order to bring you to life, you know. So therefore, they're the one who are there when you're hungry, when you're sick, when you're running into problems, you know. Not that the dads don't do much, basically, but the dads don't do as much as the moms do. So this is what I can tell about her, you know. And she was, of course, tough mom, but that's the way the moms have to be tough sometimes with the loving care.
So as my last words, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Camara, for honoring you with your presence and giving us so many informations and teaching us so many things through the entire debate. It was really a pleasure. Thank you very much.
It was just an exchange, not a teaching issue. It was just an exchange. In this life, we all teach one another on different things.
Yeah.
We have exchanged experience.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure to have this to host this high plateau with Mam Jara and Abdouhad. We hope to see you next time. And now, I give the floor to Mam Jara to conclude.
Mr. Camara, what is your last word?
My last word about Télé Ecole is a very successful event, and I wish a long way forward in this successful road to Télé Ecole.
Thank you, Mr. Camara. We are very honored to share this program with you. Thank you, Zahra and Abdouhad too. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of your English talk. We have talked about all we wanted to talk about. I give you appointment in another talk of English talk. Thank you.